Welcome to episode 1 of my Raptors podcast. I wanted to make this episode in reaction to our recent loss to the Charlotte Hornets, um, in which we had yet another famed fake comeback on the backs of Scotty Barnes' 30, 10, and 10 triple double. And I think at this point, at least speaking for myself as a fan, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch this team right now. We have a young budding superstar in Scotty Barnes who's able to go 12 for 18 in a game like this and put up a triple double, and it still doesn't result in a win. Looking at the stats, we went 6 for 32 from three. The Raptors, 6 for 32. Scotty Barnes, 3 for 6 from three. That's the only starter that hit a three. The entire starting lineup, OG Anunoby, Dennis Schroeder, Pascal Siakam, and I'm not going to include Jakob in here because he doesn't shoot threes. Nobody hit a single three in the entire game. And it's even highlighted at the end of, the Charlotte Hornets game where OG was spoon fed a wide open catch and shoot three and he couldn't connect. Now, I know it's not realistic to expect a player to make every single one of their shots, but it is realistic to expect a 3-point shooter who OG Anunoby has a reputation as a 3-point shooter. Let's be honest, that's his game. He doesn't have a bag. He hits his step back mid range fades every once in a while. But aside from that, all of his offense comes from the catch and shoot. We have a catch and shoot player who, as I previously said, has a reputation for catch and shooting, not able to convert even a single three in an entire game against a. In this game, OG Anunoby played 36 minutes and 13 seconds, finishes a game 3 for 12 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3. Pascal, good game. 25, 5 and 4, 11 for 15, 0 for 1 from 3. Jakob, 8 and 8, not good enough. Not good enough from what Masai said to be a top 10 center in the league. And Will Liu, in his reaction pod, mentioned this too, but what part of Jakob's game gives him the status of a top 10 center? Is it his offense? Well, no, because he doesn't shoot threes. He doesn't have a mid range. He is relatively efficient in the paint with his, close shots, close layups, hook type shots, things like that. But you have to understand that's what every center in the league is supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to finish near the rim. Now, this isn't a knock on Pirtle's game per se, but it is a knock on Masai's denotation of Jakob Pirtle being a top 10 center in the NBA. I think that going around the league, I'm not going to list 10 centers that are better than Jakob, but there are 10 centers better than Jakob starting in this league. Maybe even on the bench in this league. In the Charlotte Hornets game, Mark Williams, you know, 4 points, 2 for 4 shooting, almost looked like he was outplaying Pirtle at times. Maybe it's the youth, maybe it's the athleticism, but if Mark Williams is able to put up half of Jakob Pirtle's production in a much, much, much smaller scale contract, it really doesn't make any sense that one, we traded an entire first round pick for Jakob Pirtle, and two, that we extended him for the amount that we extended him. So it's things like this that are frustrating to a fan that puts their effort into watching the game, spends money on jerseys and tickets to get this absolutely horrible product on the court. So even going through the bench, Precious had 17, Malachi Flynn, you know, his struggles are well documented. I mean, if you watch the game and you saw the 3-point shots he was taking, they were not good. They he might have been open, but the misses were horrible. Back rim, backboard. He might have even airballed in this game. And I'm not trying to slander Malachi's name, but it's been 3 years of this, of what we've seen him do in not only the Hornets game, every game he's played in this season. We're a quarter of the way through the season. Malachi Flynn is still Malachi Flynn. Um, his rookie year, I know he showed flashes. He won Player of the Month or Rookie of the Month, and I think under the wing of Kyle Lowry, he could have been coached into something. He could have developed into a better player than who he is now, but we didn't have that. We had Nick Nurse playing our starters for 48 minutes a game last season and the season before. Now, we can't change the past. We can only change the future, but changing the future might mean getting rid of Malachi Flynn. Relying on him in a backup role is not good. It's Dennis Schroeder is a good stopgap starting point guard. He's average. He moves the ball well. Um, Now, with the exception of the last two games, especially, he moved the ball well. He did look really selfish in the game before the Hornets game. The Hornets game itself, 3 for 10, 7, 1 and 5. Two turnovers. That's to be expected from a point guard. Uh, 5 assists, not enough. I understand Scotty Barnes had 10. He was moving the ball, but if if Dennis Schroeder is on the floor to move the ball, get 7 points, and go 0 for 4 from three, why isn't Scotty starting at point guard? I know last year it was big news that Scotty Barnes had PG in his Instagram bio, and we've still never seen Scotty really truly play point guard in starting minutes. Now he does it with the backups, but it's not fair for Scotty to be the main ball handler, offense initiator, pick and roll player. It's not fair for him to be all of those things and be forced to do all of those things with the backups and not the starters. Scotty Barnes' skill set is Scotty Barnes needs players around him to produce. He needs shooters around him to produce. Scotty went 3 for 6 from three. That's the only starter with threes. You can't tell me that OG Anunoby isn't Scotty Barnes' ability to continue to produce when there is almost never any space in the paint. His teammates brick wide open shots that he gives them in the shooting pocket. One of Scotty Barnes' best underrated abilities is his passing vision and his ability to put the ball into shooters' pockets. Gary Trent Jr., supposed to be the guy that scores off the bench, supposed to be the microwave spark plug scorer coming off of the bench. 0 for 7, 0 for 3 from 3. -7 plus minus. I don't like to give a lot of weight to plus minus, especially on a middling 500 team like this. It's unacceptable. Um, Watching the game, he didn't drive to the paint at all, and I know a lot of fans complain about Gary driving to the paint because he's not a good finisher. He can finish wide open dunks. He can finish wide open layups. Anything contested, it's ugly, to say the very least. It's ugly, and to have somebody that is so wildly inconsistent come off the bench that you are supposed to put your trust in to get you at least 2 points, at least 3 points, make one shot, for him to not be able to do any of that is really, really, really disappointing. And I'm a Gary Trent Jr. fan. I remember whenever we traded for him and he came out in those first, couple games, hit the game winner against Washington. um, I was hooked. I really thought this was going to be the guy is really going to complement Scotty and Gary. I really thought he was going to be the guy that Scotty would kick out to, and he did it a lot last season. Gary shot extremely well off passes from Scotty Barnes, but this year it's almost like he doesn't know his role, and I don't know how much that plays into Darko's instructions on the court, or if Darko has even outlined roles for players, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating. We signed Otto Porter last year, didn't play last year, maybe played a few games. This year, did all right in the few games he played, limited in back to backs, doesn't play back to backs. Plays in this game for 6 minutes, goes 0 for 1, and he's hurt again. Um, Chris Boucher, I'll never slander Chris Boucher's name just because he brings energy every single game. He might not make the right decisions every single game, but he's going to play hard. And that's something that the Raptors need. Pat Bev was right. There are no dogs on this team. No dogs at all. And I know I don't just speak for myself when I say this, but it's hard to watch this team sometimes. Going going 6 for 32 from three in a game that you lose by 3 points is unacceptable. It, it, it's it's something that should never happen in a modern NBA. Two players making threes, two players going a combined 6 for 10, 60% from three. Those two players. The rest of the team, 0 for 22 from three. 0 for 22 of your players go 6 for 10 from three, and the rest of the team goes 0 for 22. So I'm going to leave it on that note, but something needs to change. Um, an up and down season for an entire season where three of your big name players are up for contracts it's a recipe for a disaster. And I put a lot of effort into watching this team, consuming information about the team, and it's getting tough. It's getting tough. I don't know if I could continue to watch a full season of garbage basketball. And Masai said it himself. He didn't enjoy watching this team. So we ran it back with the exact same team, and guess what? This team still sucks to watch. Outside of Scotty. Outside of Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is the only reason that a lot of people tune into these games still. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. Appreciate you listening to my first podcast. Like, subscribe, do all that type of stuff. Leave a comment if you liked it. Yeah, enjoy the rest of y'all.